Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I'm making a really fun top 10 video. I love doing these, and this one's a really fun topic as well. So today we're looking at the top 10 decks that are coming out of nowhere in the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! These are decks that have existed for a while, are getting support, and are finally becoming playable after being pretty dead in the water for quite a while. These are not in a particular order aside from chronological. They're not being ranked in terms of how good I expect them to be. They're just kind of ranked in terms of when we're expecting to get them. So I think that'll help people kind of categorize these in their mind a little better on when to see them on the horizon. But yeah, I have 12 here. The first two are going to be more honorable mentions than anything, and then from there we take off with a real top 10 list from there. So without further ado, let's just get into it. First off, for our honorable mentions is Phantom of Yubel, and just Yubel in general. This should be dropping in Battles of Legend. There's a couple of rogue strategies that are coming completely out of nowhere in Battles of Legend, which is really exciting because it's only a month and change away, which is pretty exciting. Yubel's one of them. Now, Yubel doesn't come in complete out of nowhere, but with their new support that they just got, not only from the last core set, but also Legacy of Destruction, those two new cards really help the consistency and ability to extend for the deck, and then add another tool like Phantom of Yubel to them, and then they take off like absolutely. This card is immensely powerful. This card is so strong. It's in that family of ABC Dragon Buster, Vicious Astrolaud kind of family of like super easy to summon fusion monsters, and it's basically just a monster negate at that point, so the deck becomes very good at beating Nib. It's already not the worst versus Nib anyway, but it becomes even better, and it's a really strong backbone card for the deck. And for a deck that I already expected to be performing well, to then get a card like this on top of it, it's really going to take off and climb, I think, to the upper tiers of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Metagame. Next up, Sky Striker. This one is weird to classify. It really is, because there's so many factors going on with it right now. So we're getting a couple cards in Battles of Legend as well. We don't officially know exactly what's dropping, but I assume it's going to be Camellia. I assume it's going to be the new main deck monster that actually helps Sky Striker like spam the board a little bit. The new Link 2, the new Link 3, and those are really the only cards that matter as far as the new stuff goes. That being said, the ban list just came out a couple weeks ago, and Engage went from 2 to 3, best card in the deck, and we saw Barone and Savage get banned, which means Sky Striker didn't have to deal with as many just big negate boards anymore. Those generic negators just aren't running around as often. So Sky Striker already is more like well positioned in the format. They get the third copy of their best starter back, and add on to that a couple of new tools from Battles of Legend. I think they're in a really good place. Now, I don't know if Pure is going to be the variant, but something specifically like Camellia makes it even easier for Sky Striker to be splashed in other decks, which has already been like a talk around the community, is like, is it possible to play actual board breaker strategies going forward in Yu-Gi-Oh? Sky Striker is a pretty cool engine to be able to do that. Add in the ability to play Camellia, and like any other engine can basically connect you to the Sky Striker engine, and you're actually asking a lot of the right questions. So I don't know exactly how it will manifest, whether it's an engine in other decks, whether it's pure Sky Striker, whether it's a Sky Striker core built with some other engines in a more Sky Striker heavy deck. I have no idea how it's gonna come together, but I do think they're worth throwing on here because they really felt pretty unplayable, not just as an engine, but as a pure deck as well. And now I think it's at least a conversation you can have. So those are two honorable mentions, because you could argue that right now they're more playable, and then the rest from here on in are pretty zero to hero. We'll call them. We'll say it that way. First up, Battles of Legend. We're still sitting in Battles of Legend, which we're getting in less than 2 months. Ice Barriers. This is a deck that has never existed really in the metagame. Only some of its synchros have been played, as generic tools in other decks, but they finally get some really cool tools. If you read Magic Mirror Master, can't remember exactly what it is, but the new Ice Barrier card, it's an amazing engine card. That card almost by itself makes the deck playable, but add a really sweet level 10 synchro and another really sweet monster extender for them, and that engine just takes off. I think it's legitimately a rogue deck going forward. It's something you really need to worry about because the deck has the ability to draw a million. It appears to have some good synergy with Runic. I really think it's a rogue deck you need to worry about going forward, and you should at least know what it has going on. Next up, Ritual Beast. Another thing, this is one of my hot takes of the year, I guess. I think Ritual Beast may be the best shifter deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now. I think it's better than Fluandereeze. Now, some Fluandereeze players are going to push back on that. I don't really care what you say. It just doesn't matter to me. I think this deck is just plainly and simply better. I think it has a better ceiling. I think it plays less bricks, and it's more consistent. And I think overall, when you look at this deck, the barrier to entry is going to be how hard it is to play. I'm not saying it's going to be more popular or have more tops than Fluandereeze. I just think it's a better deck. I think if you play this deck, you have a better chance of like performing well if you play the deck well than if you play Fluandereeze. I think it's a better deck overall. I still think we'll maybe even see more Fluandereeze top over this deck anyway, because this deck is very hard to play. But if somebody wants to play this deck, plays the deck well, I think this deck can perform very, very well. And Shifter isn't only like negligible in this deck, it literally makes your combos better. That's like another thing that, like, as far as Shifter decks go, that's like insane to me. That it not only like the deck doesn't care about Shifter, it literally makes your plays better. Insane. So definitely a rogue deck to keep an eye out for. Sorry people, I know everybody hates Shifter. This deck is not going to help. Because this deck is only going to make Shifter more popular, because a few more players are going to be playing this. Next up, Infernoid. Infernoid deserves a little bit of flowers here. They get some new cards, and not only that, but the Snake Eye engine is amazing support for them. Honestly, the Snake Eye stuff is better for them than these new Infernoid cards, which is crazy to say, but it's just the truth. That being said, these cards are still pretty nice. The Link 4 is pretty solid. The Fusion is really good, and then the spells are like nifty one-ofs for the deck. They're nothing crazy. They don't have to be one-ofs. There's an argument to play more. But that being said, it is cool, and they deserve a little bit of respect here, but I think my problem is, unless Konami hits the Snake Eye engine in a way where pure Snake Eye isn't playable anymore, I do feel like I look at this deck and I go, Snake Eye Infernoid is the best version of Infernoid, but it's just like the fourth best version of Snake Eye. Something like that, you know what I mean? So it's one of those, if you play it, it's because you really want to make Infernoid work, not because you think it's the best variant, most likely. That being said, I do still think it has some pretty good power. It has some extra tools that the Infernoid engine provides that the pure Snake Eye variant and other Snake Eye variants don't have access to. But you also have way less spots for non-engine, and that really, really, really hurts in terms of being able to compete on like a larger scale. But I still think it's a pretty good deck. I still think you could top with it, and if you're a big Infernoid lover, I think this is a pretty exciting time for you. So go ahead and get out there and get some tops with it. I'd love to see it. All right, so that is it for the Battles of Legends set. Those are the 5 main things that I think matter the most from Battles of Legends. So far, I mean, we don't even have the set fully revealed, but most of everything else is going to be reprints. There may be some other sneaky cards in there that are being imported from the OCG that, you know, raise my eyebrow a little bit. But other than that, these are the main things to me. From there, we move to the next set, which is Infinite Forbidden. That's the next core set. I'm expecting that that's going to come in the next 2.5, 3 months. It's a decent core set. It's about on the same level for me as Legacy of Destruction. Similarly powerful sets in terms of nothing crazy hits the format and is overly warping it, but there are some pretty powerful things coming out, like Gimmick Puppet. This deck is terrifying. I really think that's how it is. This deck has always had pretty good tools going second, and that even gets better here with this support. So it's a deck that can go second, but it also has the ability to like FTK going first. So there's your dual purpose. Is very scary going first because you can just auto lose to it, and going second, it has tools to just OTK you, and that's a pretty scary proposition. Now, is it strong enough at either? Like, does it beat hand traps well enough going first, and is it strong enough going second to like really, really perform? I'm not entirely sure yet. I think it has some pretty powerful tools though, and I from some of the stuff we've seen in the OCG on early release for this stuff, it seems pretty promising. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on. This deck is legitimately scary, I think, going forward. It's definitely on scary watch for me. Memento. You could argue Memento's playable right now with their new Fusion and Fusion spell, but I think they could become just even a next little notch because of their next Fusion and another monster that's an extender / another way to fuse, which is kind of crazy. So, a lot of stuff going on here. These cards are pretty powerful. I actually think the deck's okay right now, and these cards only push it even further over the edge for me. And then I think it becomes like legitimately playable, even maybe a tier 2 deck at that point. I'm not fully confident in saying that, but I think that's potentially like arguable, but yeah, these cards are immensely powerful. This new fusion is insane. It has 3 different effects: one on field, one effect on field to like plus you, one effect engraved to plus you, and an effect on field that helps you like disrupt your opponent. This card has kind of everything going for it, and it's not even that hard to make in the deck. I think it's a legitimate, powerful boss monster for them, which is really, really sweet to see. So I like that. Not disappointed at that at all. Memento definitely deserves some respect going forward. Drytron's next on the list. They've been pretty much dead since for a while. I mean, they're just kind of outclassed by so many decks these days. Ever since they got hit on the ban list, then some of the stuff that got hit initially came off, and now they're just at a place where they've been power crept by a lot of other combo decks in the game. Now, we do add this new main deck monster. I think this is the cream of the crop as far as the new cards go. They also get a new ritual that's actually pretty decent. And a new trap, but I'm not impressed by that card. I think overall, this is really the main card to me that like makes me go, that's kind of scary. This is the card, right? This extender is really, really powerful for them. I don't know exactly how far it takes them, how much it helps them in terms of beating interaction and really pushing out stronger boards and stuff, but it's here. Drytron's kind of floated around as like a fringe rogue deck, and this stuff only helps. So I think if you're a Drytron fan, this does push them another notch up, and you know, it's a pretty good place to be if you've been kind of where Drytron has been for the last couple months / years. Next up on the list is Madolche. I'm pretty excited about this one. I think this deck's really cool, and I think this is one of the 2 main things I really wanted from for Madolche. And it's not perfect, because in a perfect world we would have also got 1 or 2 new main deck like engine cards. The engine's not bad, the engine's just not amazing, I would say. So they could have helped a little bit with consistency and extendability in the main deck, but I think overall one of the problems for the deck was going first. You weren't really able to set much up, and now we're able to set up this card, Tiara a la Fries, which is basically, what's her name? Not Chocolate a la Mode, Tiramisu, but it's a quick effect on the opponent's turn. So it's a quick effect like shuffle 2 cards. That's a pretty strong effect, for sure. So definitely have to keep that in mind. This card's pretty powerful. You also add a Link 3 that searches any Madolche card. That's pretty nice. And a new trap that's like an OK Interruption. It makes it so the deck has much better going first plays / if you can't OTK, it gives you much better tools to be able to end on if you aren't able to kill, and so your opponent can't just turn around and kill you back. Very, very important. Like I said, only thing I could ask for from this point on is main deck support. Like, just make the engine a little better at extending / being more consistent, but all things considered, I think this deck moves from just outside of playability to like, now it's a solid rogue deck again. I think you can mess around with this deck for sure, and I know there's a ton of fans out there, so I can't wait to see what they cook up with this deck. And the last one from Infinite Forbidden for me is not necessarily Fiend Smith, because this is a new deck, but it is a generic engine, and this engine is going to see play in a couple of decks generically, because this engine can generically get you like a rank 6, so like Beatrice in certain decks is very scary, like without normal summon, as well as the ability to make the DDD High Wave Kings, is it not High Wave? Whatever, Caesar. The link, the rank 6 that negates like effects that summon a monster, so negates Nib, right, helps you planar Nib super safely, and is a pretty powerful interruption for most decks as well. This engine is pretty powerful for that, but that's not what I'm talking about here. The 2 main decks I think this archetype really has particularly cool synergy with is Magical Musketeers and Fable. Those are 2 archetypes that are already basically built around light fiends. And so this engine has a generic Rhoda. Basically, by playing this engine, you can play like 6 copies of a Rhoda that searches any light fiend. So it adds so much consistency to those engines, as well as if you already have a playable hand, the ability to do stuff like make Wave High King Caesar, and then allow yourself to play through Nib Guaranteed and protect yourself, which is really, really solid. So I like this engine quite a bit. I think it makes those decks particularly better. Those decks were basically non-factors, and now I think you could legitimately call them like rogue decks again, but it's nothing crazy. I figured I'd throw them on here. I think they deserved it enough because of this, but you know, it wasn't anything out of this world. And then I move into our last set, which is the most interesting one to me because we don't even know much fully about this set. These other 2 sets, we basically know most of them, I guess. I mean, Battle's Legend, we still need to see if there's anything crazy coming in there, but this one we just purely know we're missing something huge. But the two we know about, the first one is Trickstars. We've already had 6 of the 7 cards revealed so far. I tend to think that they would save one of the better cards of the support for last, right before the set comes out, to really raise hype for it. So we still have one more coming, but I think both these support waves can even get significantly better. I think Trickstar's playable. I really, really do. I think it's a solid rogue, like mid-range strategy where you have a bunch of free win conditions at times, whether it's Drone Lock, whether it's Burning for Game, whether it's double reincarnation where your opponent just loses a bunch of engine pieces. Like, you have free wins built into this deck, and that's before you even try to factor in like how well this deck can actually play versus other decks. And I think it got way better, specifically because it's Link 2. I think this Link 2 is the huge winner for Trickstar. I think it's solid. I'm going to be building it with Chris, my buddy. He's played this deck forever. He hasn't played in a while because it's been pretty cheeks for a while. But whenever this deck was playable, he's played it. And I'm excited to actually give him something he's excited to play again. And we're definitely looking forward to that. This deck is a legit rogue deck going forward in my eyes. And the other one is Tachyon Cloud Dragon, or Tachyon / Galaxy Eye support. This support is quite strong. Like, legitimately is. I don't know exactly how well it's performed in the OCG so far. I know they're super early because this set got fully revealed like a week and a half ago, so it's only been like 10 days since anybody's even been able to like try and mess around with anything from this set, basically. But long story short, they get some really good stuff here. They get a new boss monster that helps them facilitate basically any of the Exceed monsters they wanted to make, and a bunch of main deck engine cards that also allow you to do that pretty dang easily. So I'm with it. I think they're pretty strong. I think it's a legit rogue deck, and I think it's way simpler than like Galaxy tended to be in the past. And I think they also have the ability to play more non-engine because of these simpler main deck engine cards. They're able to get away with 25 to 28 to 25 engine cards and actually fit a decent chunk of non-engine, which it didn't seem like Galaxy Eyes was too great at before. So I think they're pretty good. I think you can also do some stuff like Horus in there just to make some generic rank 8s. The deck really doesn't stop you from doing anything like that. They're in a good spot, legitimately. And so they deserve to be on here for sure. If you're a big fan of this deck, definitely keep an eye out for this set. And the weird thing about this set is this is supposed to be a 3 duelist set, and we have no idea what the 3rd duelist is yet. I suspect at least, next week we'll actually have the final duelist revealed. We will get the 3rd archetype, but keep in mind, we still have one more card for each of these archetypes to come, which will make them even better than they already look. This archetype looks legitimately strong. Trickstars look okay, and one more card could be the difference in making them look strong versus just okay. We'll have to see what that final card is, but still, I think both are in a really good spot regardless. So those round out our final of our 10. We still sit in a place where I expect to get like a structure deck announced at some point. It could be Atlanteans. It could be something else. I don't know, but that could obviously change our viewpoint here, where we'll start to get reveals for the next core set soon. That'll obviously bring a bunch of stuff. So we can update this list further down the line, but right now this is everything I have here as far as these new decks go that are coming out of nowhere and hitting the scene for the first time in a long time. So really good. If you're a fan of any of these decks, I think you're in a really, really great spot. You should be pretty happy about where your prospect looks, but that's everything I have today. If you have some thoughts on this list, anything that you're particularly excited from anything on this list, let me know in the comment section down below, as well as you think I missed anything that deserves to be on here. I'd also love to hear your thoughts down below on that. Keep in mind, this is only archetypes that are getting legacy support and becoming playable for the first time in a long time, not new stuff. So I left off White Woods, I left off other brand new archetypes, but these ones are pretty solid. I think we get 10 separate like rogue decks basically, like out of nowhere, from these archetypes, and in the next couple months, which is really exciting. I love messing with the rogue decks. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts down below, and subscribe for more videos like this one down the line. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.